Hello, everybody. We are back. It's another episode of the Roma Press podcast. We hope you are well. Roma, they go top of their Europa League group. Before we get into that, a thank you to all of our wonderful patrons over at Patreon. If you would like to join and support the podcast and get early access to the episodes, other things as well, you can go to patreon.com/RomaPress. And of course, youtube.com/@ISRomaPress. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have gotten an incredible response from the episode so far, and truly we are very grateful. It means a lot, the support that we have received since we have started to do the video version of the podcast. Truly, it means a lot to us. So thank you, everybody, for your support. Okay,
I had my high school teacher actually drop a comment in a in one of the on the latest episode. Yeah, my Polish teacher, from like 8-9 years ago. She found her way into the Roma Press universe. She dropped a comment.
as in
She emailed me about it.
so that hold on. That
Yeah.
that means one of two things. Either she Google searched your name
Hey
and
man,
happened to
you
come
know
across.
that's
Well,
the
yeah,
effect I have.
ever
The
since you
effect
mentioned
I
the thing
have.
of I wanted to say jaguar, cougars.
Well,
So,
I'm
yeah, you dancing with the in Vermont or something with cougars and some sort of bar.
yeah. You don't want to
Everything
know
is on
what's
the table
happening
at this
in Spain.
point.
You don't want to know. You don't want to know.
Well, okay. Well,
Of Irish
that must have been
cougars.
exciting. Yeah. Well,
Just keep
when
it
she
at
sees
that.
you doing these live streams, maybe she was doing it out of concern. Like, oh my gosh, he's starting a YouTube channel. He's living. He's every time I
No,
see him,
she had very
he's either
positive.
in Montana,
She had
North
very
Dakota.
positive feedback. Her English is limited, but she said we look like we're having a good time. So I just want to give a shout out to Mrs. my good old teacher from high school. So if you're watching,
How exciting! Yeah. Well, we are having a good we are having a good time. I mean, certainly better than when the cameras are off. I mean, I am now in my left arm. I was about 5% metal, and now I'm about at least 1% metal in my right hand. So
you're like
I'm hoping.
an
I mean,
Ohio
at this point,
version of Terminator.
well, if
Ohio.
Roma, if we keep doing this, I mean, I just did the math in my head. If we do this another 10, 20, the thought, well, just going beyond that, I mean, the thought of us doing this in our 40s or 50s, I had this weird flash. You don't say flashback, flash forward. I don't know the right way to say it. But, you know, graying silver fox, you and I,
Vision. You had a vision.
a vision. Yeah. Just, if this continues, because I mean, at this point, I Roma Press, a little over a decade old, but you and I have been doing this over half of a decade. So, I mean, if we keep this up, we do this by the time, in our 40s or 50s. I mean, that in
Which
and of
means your
itself.
youngest child will be 7 months old.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, the fact we would even be alive would be a testament to, I suppose, our will to live. I don't know, but I mean, if it keeps up, I hope to be at least a quarter of platinum. I don't know, some other phosphorus metals that I can get into my hand. The great thing is, even before this, I carry a card that says when I am in the airports, if the security, if they find, if something goes off and everything is ringing, you don't have to worry. This card, I am not a terrorist. It's just, I dunked the basketball and fell on my arm, and the bone came out of the skin, and I had to get some plates, some screws, and some nails driven into my arm, and my forearm tattoo removed because it went right through. My SPQR tattoo, by the way. Um, you, are you really a
Hey,
supporter or in the media of IS Roma if you don't have SPQR tattooed
since
somewhere?
we dropped the SPQR logo, we've had 4 wins, my friend, 11 goals scored. So I think all
I
those people, I don't believe in curses, but all those people that called this a curse, I don't know, something's in the water because the SPQR logo is gone. We got the Riyadh season, whatever it is. Nobody knows what Riyadh season is. Nobody knows what it means,
no.
but it's provocative.
Well,
It's
there were
working.
only
Something's working.
something is working, and the fact too, the fact that it really pissed off the former mayor, who I had the pleasure of meeting, and on two occasions, both of which she was as unpleasant as she appears on whether it be video online. Mr. Raji, what's the lyric? Malaraji, Raji, 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 Raji. I that don't know. Yeah.
Raji, Raji, Raji.
Um,
No.
she, I mean, just the fact that that sponsorship pissed her off, that was worth it. I mean, I don't even need the name of the sponsor on the shirt anymore. That paid for itself, just making her angry. Um, uh, because anytime, I mean, she is I thought I am a pessimist. She is constantly pissed off. You never see her be feeling, loose, enjoying herself. But anyway, that's a great point on the sponsorship. Roma today against Slavia Praha. The not the only thing, the first thing that comes to my mind is that was like business. That wasn't even the football match. That was putting on the suit, going. It reminded me of Glengarry Glen Ross. Like when we all know when
Talk to
shooter
it,
Alec
please, because
Baldwin,
that's, if there is a
the
Glengarry Glen Ross
killer.
fan, it's me.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we see a very handsome Alec Baldwin before he has at least one body to his name. You want to talk about a guy with 22 children? I think he may be the only one who rivals me because doesn't he have like
Oh,
nine
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
10?
He's got the Latina wife, or pseudo Latina wife. She passes herself off as
Yeah,
Latina. Yeah, yeah. She was caught passing herself
yeah,
as
yeah.
Latina.
Yeah, I
It's not
just
been a good couple of years for Alec Baldwin, but yes, Glengarry Glen Ross, please go on because I'm listening to you.
no, when he says, I mean, he's giving the famous speech. Everybody knows
Coffees
that
for
part.
closers only.
But that is what I felt that as if Jose Mourinho like put that on before the match, like just that part where he gives to them like the speech where he says, "I don't want to get us hit by YouTube, but it's F or walk."
Yeah, yeah,
Basically, I felt like that is what Roma did tonight. You want to talk about precision, sharpness, clinical. Man, that was get it. When I say get in, get out, advance, survive, that is what they did tonight, man. I mean, the game was over by 20. You could have even said the match was over after the first minute because after Bove scored, at any point did you think Roma were going to concede? Because I didn't. I mean, there were zero moments in that match where I
it
was
was a
holding my
pretty safe
breath.
result. Yeah, it was a pretty safe.
Yeah, where my backside was clenched, where I was experiencing heart arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats. I mean, that was so just business professional. I don't know how else to put it, but that honestly felt like Roma. They came to the stadium, they put on their kits, they went out. By 20, it was over, and it was like they had a stranglehold on Slavia Praha because, again, at no point did I feel Roma were under threat. I just double checked before we started. The Slavia Praha, they ended with 2 shots on goal, neither of which were entirely worrying or convincing. I mean, I don't know how else to describe this one, but uh, I always say on here, well, not always, but many times I come on here and I say it doesn't matter how you get the points. A win is a win is a win is a win is a win. Even though they have a different look to them, all of them are original. They are all worth the same ultimately in the end. I have to tell you though, ahead of Inter, I cared very much about tonight. Not only the result, but how they did it. that second half, and I with 0 goals scored, everybody's going to say, or most people are going to say, well, how boring. I loved every second of it because it was as if Roma. It reminded me of like when you are when you're a child and you're fighting like your little brother, and you just have a you put your hand on top of their head and they're just trying to swing and they can't reach. That was a vision in my head, or that was what I felt like Roma were doing, because that was complete and total control on the scoreboard. Does not say an annihilation. It does not say one way traffic. If you just Google the score, you're going to say, "Oh, wow, okay, cool, relatively close match, not not an unbalanced result." There was no point in this match where I thought Roma would concede, and that was about as well managed of a performance I think that Roma have had under Jose Mourinho. And I know that will probably sound like some hyperbole, but to go out, score those two early goals, and just it, done. That I loved every second of it.
It
I
was
assume you feel the same.
it's it was a composed performance. That's really what what you can say about it. It was a composed performance. It was a composed performance. Was a composed performance made by a team that went into it with a very specific mindset, and fortunately was the mindset I asked the team to show. I'm
Hmm.
always worried when we have these smaller games right before a big match that the team
Yes.
automatically goes with their thoughts to to the game that matters, that seems to matter more in their eyes. uh, Whereas tonight Roma went out and did exactly what they were supposed to do, which is handle
Yes.
this game with the same attention, the same care, the same focus as they would have to address the game on Sunday against Inter. Tonight, they went in. They knew their objective was to win at all costs, to make life easier for themselves. Not to have to play two unnecessary playoff games. Also, not to drop the momentum. That Monza win was it took so much out of you that it was so important to follow it up with a comfortable win. A win that tonight was hard fought, but to a completely different degree than Sunday with Monza. Tonight was a hard fought game because the team knew what is at stake
Yes.
and had to play with the lead. And obviously sometimes playing with a 2-0 lead can be very tricky because you concede that one goal and then you're back in it, right? And
We can think of so many times.
with so many times,
Cagliari all over again. Cagliari. Just
so many times, and yet today they found the strength not to repeat that, not to let the demons of the past haunt them. Today they went in with a mission. They were on a mission. The whole team responded really well in both halves. Really, you can't
yes.
pinpoint a moment where the team dropped their energy levels and Slavia were right in it. No, Slavia were never in it. That's the thing, is that they were never in it. That's the encouraging aspect. Is that Roma, once again, they show that they have the quality uh, to handle these on the surface, because tonight was gonna be difficult. Like, this is a Slavia Praha team that no problem beating the living crap out of Sheriff Tiraspol. Meanwhile, you had trouble beating Sheriff. Like, you beat them, but it
Right.
wasn't as easy as tonight. It wasn't as easy as the match against Servette. Slavia had the same objective: finish first in the group, and so it was never going to be a walk in the park. But Roma never let you you know go to that thought, that possibility of potentially seeing this team lose its cool and drop points tonight. So that's the thing that really spoke to me, is that finally we get a glimpse of a team that is building something in terms of this momentum. They're keeping it alive. They're keeping it alive at a very crucial stage of the season, where right after a disappointing start, you get back into it and you show me that you've learned that having ups and downs is not sustainable if you want to achieve something. And right now, they're cruising. They're cruising. The match against Monza, yes, it was tricky, but tonight you sort of reaffirmed your grip on the steering wheel. And as you head into that Inter game, you got players that are performing. You got players that are responding well despite several absences, several injuries affecting the team. And I think that is what matters most in this moment in time of the season, where the team first and foremost wasn't even really about the performance. It was about the results. The team showed up and delivered the results. As we say, since that SPQR logo is gone, you got 4 games, 4 wins, 11 goals scored.
That is the extent of the research we do here prior to the matches. I mean, that is where else. I do not see Opta tweeting that out. I don't see, Opta Paolo doing that one. Good luck, Paolo. I mean, I mean, once again, the research team on top of everything. Um, Once again, I know this will be another regurgitated point that I make, just in terms of because I care more, obviously, about the victory, the 3 points. Obviously, 99.9% of the time, that's what I care about most. Without really caring about the style, or how beautiful it was. But man, to get not only get those goals early, but Lukaku scoring, I thought was enormous. When you have a big match like this, and all of the crap, man, that the Interisti that is coming out in these days is first off, it's you want to talk about hyperbole. I mean, come on, just really. He's a traitor. He he
Did you see
betrayed
how
us.
Pinto perfectly responded to those things? Pinto said, "Uh-huh." And what about the way Edin Dzeko and Henrik Mkhitaryan went to a certain team?
Right, right.
Both players walked out on Roma without even batting an eye, without even saying a word. They just turned around and went into the opposite direction to a team that was clearly getting better and better at a time when their team needed them.
Yeah,
So
I mean, Mkhitaryan,
perfect.
man. You and I say that every time they win the Conference League. And let me reiterate, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the time, Raiola, he was technically his agent, but the guys who oversee for Mkhitaryan, he has two guys from his family, one of whom is a cousin. They were already in Rome. They were there waiting. It was as if your partner were to come in and she says, I'm not feeling it anymore. We have to break up, and you look out the window and she has the moving van there already. That is essentially what happened. That was perfectly said by Pinto. Give me a break. But if there was ever one guy who you would think who mentally, because that's obviously the biggest thing for him coming into this, it's the mental. How are you going to handle? It's going to be a difficult environment. You are going into a place where that. I mean, by the way, they have been saying this crap and talking about this. It's 26 October. It seems like they have been talking about Lukaku since June.
Yeah, that news
Um,
broke out in late June. Yeah, that's how Beppe Marotta is
Astounding.
able to rally the troops. The media power that guy holds is immense. No, seriously, like Beppe Marotta is unparalleled in how
Yes.
he is able to get a narrative going and then keep it going. But that's the thing is tonight was always going to be a preliminary match leading up to Inter. Always, when you have these games, you always have the smaller game that nobody really wants to play, that nobody's really eager to get into, but you have to because it's like the
Yeah.
NBA season where in order to get to the playoffs, you have to face the game against the Indiana Pacers or the Charlotte Hornets who nobody wants to play. Indiana Pacers, I believe the ticket for an Indiana Pacers game is like $9. So in the it's at an all-time low. So I'm just saying, John,
I
I know
can't. I don't
you're
think
not
I
that
can name
far from
anybody on
there.
the team.
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
who I can't name. The only one I
Nine
always
dollars
thought of was
for a ticket to an NBA game with the Pacers. So um, but you have to get it out of the way. But the tricky part is that, like just like in the NBA, where even on an odd night right before the playoffs, you can get absolutely demolished by
yes,
a winless side. The same thing can happen to Roma in the Europa League. We saw it against Ludogorets last season. That compromised our chances of finishing first in the group. And it was imperative of this team to not lose momentum. We saw today
yes,
El Sharawi. He responded well. Bove played very well. We had Lukaku, after a difficult game against Monza, gets back on the score sheet. These are all key elements that contribute to hopefully an optimal preparation for the match against Inter, against an Inter side that, yes, they've had 48 hours more to recover. So hey, that comes with the territory of qualifying to the Champions League.
exactly. You made your bed. You have to
So
lay in it.
that's always, you're always going to face that scenario. But the most important thing was not to let your guard down, because how can you feel confident going into a big match if you win one game, you lose the next one, and then
Correct.
really lose your mojo? We've seen that way too many times. And the problem with that is the team arrives, the big match is there, and they have to get into it. They have to just claw their way into it rather than smoothly transition from one game to the next one. In terms of pressure, the Slavia Praha game should have the same quantity of pressure than the Inter game. I want to have that same level of confidence that we saw tonight, transition being slot in to Sunday. And hopefully that's what we're gonna see. So that's why it was so important to not only get a result tonight, but also get the idea, the sense that we're dealing with a team that is in control of their own fate.
I couldn't agree more. And, the thing I find interesting, and it is something that you and I have discussed ever since it happened multiple times. Before the match tonight, Jose Mourinho on his pre-match press conference, I think he referenced what happened in Genova twice or two or three times, and we kind of felt it at the time because we said after, it is one thing to lose a match. It's just another when you see just that level of, I mean, that was pure depravity what we saw against Genoa. Um, but you can tell that is still weighing on his mind, and it is almost as if he's not only challenging Roma, but almost like holding that against them. Like, you have to prove that what we saw, it wasn't that long ago, and that was so bad that you do not have the luxury, and you and I both say this on here all the time. Roma does not have the luxury ever to look past a match, a game, an opponent. You have earned nothing in that respect that allows you to do that, and I think you just put it perfectly in terms of, you know every match has to be approached and taken with the same effort, same confidence. You have to have the same strong mentality going into it. Now, of course, human nature sometimes kicks in, and where we will see Roma drop one when they certainly shouldn't. But for the game tonight, I just want to harken back to this. Not only did they need to win, but there was something very I can't say enthusiastic, because again, it's not as if you were the neutral that second half. I can't imagine you were anywhere near excited as I was, but it just felt like Roma in that second half, again, even though they didn't score, the control, I just loved watching them do that because, again, it was as if they were unbothered. They weren't even remotely threatened by the possibility of conceding, and they look so self-assured of themselves. You look at you go to that second half, and I know no goal scored. What are you talking about? But I compare that to the first half against Genova. The difference in maturity, mentality, it is mind blowing to me. And we could say this about Roma season after season after season. I do not understand how this is the same group of players. I mean, just the self assuredness they showed tonight against Slavia Praha. What forget forget being anywhere close to what they showed against Genova. I mean, they showed nothing against Genoa, and then to see them be able to kind of transform like this, all within a very short period. I know that Genoa match seems ages ago, but it really, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that long ago. And to see them be able to do this tonight, it gives you confidence, but also it gives you that frustration. It's like, you have had this in you the entire time. You have been able to do this because look at how many. I mean, who sat tonight? You didn't have Belotti. Spinazzola was rested. You had no Pellegrini, no Paulo Dybala. I mean, just the number of guys that were missing. Chris Smalling still comes back from injury, but they're not going to play him. I mean, I don't know how it comes and goes like that. Especially a trait like that, the effort, the professionalism. It would be one thing if Roma were just technically and tactically crap. In a way, that would almost be easier for me to accept. But when you see them like this, where they just come in and take care of business and it's done before half an hour, and you still have in the back of your mind what happened against Genoa, part of me wants to think, okay, maybe Jose Mourinho keeps referencing that because maybe in his mind he views that as a turning point, and maybe the team themselves view that as a turning point because that was such a horror show of a performance, both from a physical and mental point of view, that you almost have to keep that in the back of your mind, that if you are not giving maximum in all respects, we see what can happen. Where are you with them? Because you're going to do a live stream with the before the match, before the Inter match. So I don't want to get too much into it now, but I mean, going into this match against Inter, okay, we've talked about a number of times the struggles of Roma against the big teams. Okay, fine. I don't know what to expect. I really, you would think, season 3 under the same manager, that you'd be able to have at least some sense of a better read on what you can expect. I don't know what to expect. All I know is that if they can do anything even resembling what they did tonight, where the professionalism, the mentality, the business-like approach, I'm not going to say they're going to win. In fact, I'm not even going to say they're going to get the result. But I just have to tell you, after what I saw tonight, I feel infinitely more confident than I would have with just a regular 1-0 shithouse win. I,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't.
obviously this is it always matters when when you want to assess the level of confidence. It always matters how you get a win. We are
Yes.
always talking about that 3 points are all that matter. Obviously, that also depends on circumstances, because if you're desperate, anything goes. If you're desperate, if you're struggling, if you're in a difficult spot, and you get 3 points and you get a win, that's all that matters. But right before a big match, to get a win is one thing. To get a comfortable win is another. Because it shows you, once again, you got the quality. I say it not because I like to repeat myself, but I say it because I clearly see that this is the thought that is processed time and time again within Roma players. It almost seems like they can't believe it themselves, just like Eduardo Bove couldn't believe it today, just like El Sharawi was a bit taken out of it against Monza. I was like, wow, did that really happen? These are players that, for the most part, are not aware of their capabilities. The ones that are, such as Lukaku, they show it time and time again. The important thing is to extract that quality, extract that juice, that strength, those, those important skills from those players in these moments where, as Mourinho just said in his post match, this team is facing a lot of fatigue because the same players have
Yes.
to play time and time again, and you have a lot of players that have been injured and continue to be injured no matter what, and that's why you need guys like El Sharawi, like Bove, guys that perhaps are not, superstars, but they are the ones that can come in useful and can surprise you and can deliver at moments where you least expect it, like El Sharawi against Monza, like Bove today to open up the game 1-0 after 43 seconds, that's what it's all about. A season is long. A season is not dictated only by superstars. A season is dictated also by the players around these superstars. It's dictated by the ones that work their asses off, that are there, that are available, that make themselves available, that are willing to take on, playing in a position that is not theirs to begin with, and then deliver, deliver. That's
Yes.
to me, that's the most important part. It's not even having somebody like Lukaku score time and time again. It's having somebody like Eduardo Bove say, "Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm good to go. I can do it." Or having Al Sharawi be like, "You need me off the bench? I'm there. You need me as a starter? I'm there. You need me to play alongside Romelu Lukaku? That's fine. I'll do it. Whatever it is, I'm there." That's how you succeed. That's how you build momentum, is relying on everybody.
Yeah.
For so long it seemed like in Mourinho's first season there was that notion where only certain players can play, and now it's really anything goes. Mourinho is still reluctant to rely on those Primavera players, but he is edging closer and closer to the conclusion that anything goes, that if I can get even 5 good minutes out of this kid, and that can contribute to a win at San Siro, then I'll do it. I'll do it. To hell with it. And so that's, for me, that's the most encouraging part. That's what I take away from this game, is that
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if a result against Inter is possible, but the chances of this team are far better now than than had we say won just 1-0 with that Bove goal in the first minute, and then barely holding on to it, maybe having, I don't know, a Slavia goal called offside or something,
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
shaky. This team has its limits, so it's not like they go into Inter as favorites, but they're
No, 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 no.
but but they're also not that far behind. They cannot go into this match and consider themselves inferior. Both teams are touchable. Both teams have their limits. But Roma have to be aware constantly. They have to have that awareness that, oh, you know what? We're not that bad. We're here for a reason. So if I can see through it, if I can tell that these guys are useful, these guys are good, these guys play with a lot of heart, then the players themselves should take comfort in that, that it's visible. Everybody out there in the Olimpico is clapping for a reason, because when you play your heart out, when you mean it, unlike the match against Genoa, people see it, people take notice, they understand it, and they respond to it.
Yeah, the thing I am most eager to see is not, again, not even the same level of control they showed in that second half of tonight. It is that inferiority complex that we seem to. We know when it's happening. When you and I say, you can tell when Roma are going for Roma. There's no way to describe it. It's just, you see it when you see it. In these big matches, though, and I couldn't agree with you more where you just said, I don't think Roma are that far away. That is, of course, under the assumption they are playing at their full potential with the full effort. I mean, again, the Roma that we see against Genoa compared to the one even against Monza, it's just, it's night and day. And that is the thing they have to change. Yeah, you cannot allow yourself to have this inconsistency in. Forget all of the technical aspects. I'm talking strictly on the effort and the character. Those are the things that, for all of the, as you just said, for the all the shortcomings that we know Roma has, that cannot be the thing that brings you down. Like I said, it is one thing. We're a little, we're not as strong on, on the left flank or something like that. That I can accept. That's easy to accept. That is a problem that is far more that can be rectified far easier than Well, tonight they didn't have the effort. Hopefully they have it in the next one. Like that. That is a non-negotiable. That you cannot have. Um, but it seems like, and maybe it is a sponsor. I don't know. Ever since they changed sponsors, man, I just even against Monza, even though it took a last minute goal, I didn't have any worries about their mentality, about their approach, about their effort. None of that. None of that at all. It was just a difficult match where you needed a last minute goal. Um, if they can continue like this again, they will face teams, that are better than them, and they could lose. That's fine. What I can't accept is again what we saw against Genoa. If they continue like this, though, I feel far more confident than I would have, just a couple of months ago with the same group of
Just,
players. Which
just for me, the most important thing is not to see this team rattled because of
yes,
here
yes,
that will be at San Siro, because that's another thing. Facing a team like Inter on the pitch, it's one thing. Facing a packed, sold out San Siro stadium with 30,000 whistles, with a crowd that that was given the message by the Curva Nord to make Lukaku feel their hate.
right.
And then, obviously, in typical Italian fashion, they went out of their way to clarify it's not because of the color of his skin. Like
I
that's
will.
the greatest. That's the greatest closing line on anything. We'll lynch him. We'll whistle him. We'll boo him. We'll make him feel the hatred. We'll make him feel unwanted and unwelcome. But that
It
has
is
nothing
such a
to do with the
unique
color of
aspect
his
of this
skin.
country. That is the that that is why I love my people. The same country where in Napoli they want to know Napoli fans. They want to show that they have they are supporting Koulibaly, so they decide to do blackface. That will require an entirely own episode because we oof. Okay, let's leave it there. You will be doing a live stream Saturday to talk more ahead of the match against Inter. Be sure to tune into that. Again, youtube.com/at RomaPress. Please subscribe, like, all of that good stuff. And we will chat with you for another episode after the match against Inter. So until then, ciao.
Ciao.